We are now over a year into Marvel Rivals, and the game already has up to 40 characters to pick from, ranging from longtime fan favorites to deep-cut characters, like Iron Man. However, being the greedy little goblin that I am, I want more. So, here's a few characters I would love to see added to the game, and what I think they'll look like. Some popular, some not so much, but this is my video, so who cares? Okay, to start off, my design philosophy will try to match that of the game. Rivals tends to add a lot of armor and paneling to the designs, which can be pretty contentious with some fans, but it never really bothered me. I think it's a great way to take the original costumes and add more dimension to them, breaking them up silhouette-wise so you can tell Daredevil from Spider-Man from Deadpool at any given moment. That being said, I'll still mainly be pulling from the comics with these designs, since Rivals often adds its own lore with these designs. For example, Daredevil learning about cultural appropriation, or Scott being naked, I guess. Anyways, I'll be making up my own lore for these characters, and using that to inform my designs going forward. Oh my god, hurry up and draw already! I'm going to. Damn. Alright, look, I get it. The game is not beating the Gunnar allegations anytime soon, and we can already imagine the kinds of skins that she would be receiving. I mean, even she calls it out in her own books. But I could see her doing that in-game too, critiquing whatever costume the devs decide to give her. I mean, there's still a lot of people who don't know that she was breaking the fourth wall over 10 years before Deadpool, which honestly could be a really fun interaction between the two. Maybe give the two a bitter, passive-aggressive rivalry. But hey, if you don't want the 7-foot-tall, muscled-up lawyer in your game, I don't know what else to tell you. But now, getting into her actual design, I wanted to take more inspiration from her California background. I think Jen could really stand out by incorporating more casual wear elements into her costume. I really wanted to draw a lot from the 80s fitness aesthetic, the purple leotard and white sneakers that really defined her look, along with some of the more dressed up elements that Rivals tends to add. I also went with a softer fabric for the white parts to kind of break up that MCU sort of leather texture. I see Jen as a more approachable version of her cousin, so I kind of wanted that reflected somewhere in the actual costume. And yeah, that's basically it. I did want to add more elements of her background as a lawyer into the costume, but I couldn't really think of anything outside of just a suit. So I would probably prefer it to be one of her alternate costumes instead. Gameplay wise, ideally she would not just be Hulkbug Girl. I think they could do a lot with her fourth wall breaking. Similar to Deadpool, she could interact with the game itself, kind of how Deadpool throws his Lord icon at you. Something like that. I don't know, I'm not a game developer. And just as long as she can do that one move that she did to Titania, that was hilarious. Alright, next up we got Moon Girl. Now, to be honest, I did have a whole section written out just for her, but I took too long to make the video, and now she's already out as a non-playable character. Anyways, heartbreak aside, I was struggling to find which sources to pull from for this design. I'm really attached to the animated series look that they've given her. I really think a lot of it works with the super expressive eyes and the more consistent color scheme that they have. But I also know that they are pulling mostly from the comic book material for these costumes. So I tried to do a mix of both here, and I mainly wanted this to feel like a very homemade costume, stuff that Lunella could find just laying around. With that being said, I think her gameplay would be a lot of fluid movement, using her roller skates and other gadgets to become a very fluid strategist character, kind of like Season 0 Rocket before they crippled him. But to be honest, I don't really care how she plays. Just please let her be with Devil again, NetEase. I'm not asking anymore. I'm begging. Now this next character really needs no introduction, as they've been Marvel's poster child for their newer superheroes for the past 10 years. And of course, I'm talking about Kid Marvel. I'm just kidding. It's Miss Marvel. I'm actually very surprised that Miss Marvel hasn't been added to the game already, seeing as Squirrel Girl, Jeff the Land Shark, and others have been added before her. So I guess it's a matter of time. This design in particular, I wanted to add a lot more paneling and lining into the costume. So I justified that just by putting her in 2099 along with Punisher and Black Widow. Gameplay wise, I think a lot of people believe that she would be very similar to Mr. Fantastic, but actually her powers are not stretching, they're actually embiggening, and that's a different thing. So I'm sure they could come up with something. I put her in the duelist role simply because it matches her personality the most. I'm sure you could argue for other roles, but Rivals does tend to put characters in roles based off of their personality rather than their power set. And that, kids, is how you get Gambit and Ultron as supports. And that's why I mainly wanted the design to feel very young. That's why I incorporated the Converse and the sweater underneath to play into the youthful nature of the character. And hey, if we're already adding Miss Marvel, then why don't we add Miles Morales too? Or Sam Alexander Nova, or Kid Cyclops, or the rest of the champions, or even... Alright, moving right along, let's talk Ant-Man. Not that Ant-Man. No, put that away. Ant-Man, there you go. Now, for this design, I'll be going with Hank Pym over Scott Lang because there is just so much potential for the interactions, whether it is the other Avengers, whether it's Ultron, any of them. Also, Hank Pym doesn't really get a lot of love in adaptations, and we all know he could use a lot of PR work right now. Now, I think a good way to help him stand out from other adaptations is to embrace the classic look with the blue and the red. Again, we're trying to get away from the super tight red spandex that a lot of Marvel characters have typically. So I also went with the looser, baggier material based off of the Ultimate comics, where he's based more off of working class exterminator. Speaking of Ultimates, I think that the biggest stroke of genius in that design is having the helmet set up to where it actually does make the Ultron face. So I did do two versions of that, one with the visor and one without, to kind of have it both ways. Maybe he can have the visor down when he's small and then the visor up when he's big, which actually brings me to his gameplay, being that they're already pretty much playtesting it in the Marvel Rivals community events like Times Square and now the beach event. And again, I'm going with strategist because that's what fits his personality the best. I think that's a really good opportunity to then give him a team up with Ultron. You know, having the father and son together. God, if they add Wasp in there, that's gonna be such a messed up family trio. Okay, this is not a joke. I kind of is, but not really. I'm being 100% serious, actually. I genuinely believe that Optimus Prime would be an amazing addition for Marvel Rivals. And I mean, he has about as many Marvel comics as Luna Snow. And look, I'm not saying they have to dip into third-party characters, obviously. But if they did, he would make the most sense. And ideally, it would just be Optimus Prime. I mean, I don't want to play as, like, Soundwave or anything. I mean, unless... No. But... Okay, all jokes aside, getting into his actual design, I took some elements from the original G1 design, along with some of the Derek J. Wyatt design elements from the 2007 cartoon. I kind of prefer when Optimus looks more like a working class construction worker, kind of having that vibe to him, to kind of contrast his position as the main leader of the Autobots. And of course, being the leader that he is, and the size of him, of course he's going to be a vanguard. I think they could have a lot of fun with the transforming aspect of him. I imagine it being sort of like an Angela switching stance, where he goes from this hulking figure stopping across the battlefield to a more mobile tank, being able to drive and swerve around like it's War for Cybertron all over again. I mean, at least this would give Transformers a game to be in. Well, there you have it. That's my list of characters that I want to see in Marvel Rivals. Let me know what you think. Do you disagree with any of them? Probably. You should leave a paragraph comment if you think I'm wrong. And if you've made it this far, please consider liking and subscribing. And most importantly, thank you for watching.